Alrighty, guys, welcome to the Gamer Show podcast. I'm your host, Charlie, and I'm here with Jay.
Hello, everybody.
How are we all doing this week? How you doing, Jay? It's been a while.
It has certainly. No, I'm good. Been extremely busy. You know how that adult life takes off, and yeah.
That work-life balance, right? It's one of those things.
What work-life balance is just work.
At this point, it's just work and sleep. Work balance is balancing on a beam of between sleep and work. I've been good, man. A bit of sickness, so that's the reason why some of these podcast episodes aren't going up as quick as they should. It's just been a lot of colds and flus going on, and my voice probably is getting better. It definitely was better than last week, but time of recording, it's definitely a recovery process. But yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's really busy with all that kind of stuff. But yeah, well, first and foremost, let's do what we normally do. What have you been playing since we last chatted, Jay?
So a little bit of the standard Apex. What else have we got? There's a free game on Steam right now. Let me just check that name of it. I have forgotten. The First Descendant. I literally just put it on last night. It's basically seems just like Destiny 2, to be honest, but I enjoyed it so far from what I've been playing. Played Gears 5. It come to PC, I think, recently. I only just noticed it recently. Finished that with my wife. And Ocean World Eden Crafter. Bit of an oldish looking game. It's not old in itself, but it's I guess like an early access or early release. And yeah.
I haven't really heard of that one. That sounds interesting.
Oh, one more, Aloft. You've probably seen ads for it on Facebook. I gave that a try. It's actually, I think it could be quite fun, but I tried multiplayer, and both myself and the fellow I was trying it out with, when we loaded into each other's maps, we just fell through over and over on loop, so we gave up, and hopefully that's fixed soon because it seems like it could be a good game.
Yeah, I've seen really good things about Aloft. I haven't really checked out the First Descendant yet. I've seen some people being trying it out. It's definitely on my radar. I want to check it out. But yeah, I haven't really, honestly, I haven't really been playing much games lately. Apart from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, I still play that because it's just a brainless game I could chuck on for like half an hour at night just to relax. And
you just got to do that, I guess, when you get to these ages and work takes over.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Like Call of Duty is just forever one of those games where if you just want mindless arcade fun, not even think about anything, and you can do it in short stints. You just have a couple of rounds of that and chill out, and then that's pretty much it. That's all I ever to really do with that game.
That's it, and that's mostly what I'm looking for in games too, apart from something I can play with my wife, of course.
Yeah. Well, normally I play like single player games. I have really good engaging stories and all that, but I haven't really I don't know. I just haven't really found any good single player games at the moment where I can really really sink my time into. Well,
Avatar. I can't remember. The Way of Water. It's not The Way of Water. That was the movie. Avatar. Another game just come out, or maybe their first game. I'm not up to speed, but it looked pretty cool, and that could be co-op 2-player.
Pandora Frontier or something.
That's the one, yeah. And I was reading up after a certain mission, you can actually play 2-player co-op, which would be pretty cool. But it is only 2-player in that sense. It doesn't go any further from what I know.
Yeah, I've thought about playing it. I haven't really. I don't know. The Avatar world is kind of dead to me a little bit because it's I don't know. It's one of those things that was cool at the time. Everybody was on board with it. And then the second movie came out, and I'm just like, it's a little too late for me. Like, it should have brought it out when it was cool. And now it's not that good. But
yeah, I getcha. Sort of that feeling might have passed.
The feeling more than anything else. I actually haven't seen the second film, so I can't really comment on it. But
hey, this is a gamers podcast, not a movie podcast. Yeah. So I guess we'll skip that one.
Well, that's it. I have thought about backtracking into my older library, though. I do have a lot of games in my back catalogue that I should probably go back and finish at some point. I did go back and play Last of Us Part 1, the remaster, um, where they added new dynamics from Last of Us 2, where the AI is a lot smarter. That was pretty enjoyable to relive those gaming moments. Um, and honestly, actually, sometimes I've actually been jumping into the Grand Theft Auto 5's story mode because I actually never finished the story, even though it's been out for over a decade. So,
Yeah, okay. Yep. I haven't even played it at all, to be honest.
yeah, well, I played it when it first came out on PS3, and it looked a bit, plasticky and that. But then I played the PS4 version, but I never bothered finishing the story. I jumped into the multiplayer more than anything else. And then, yeah, I just picked it up again recently and was like, you know what? I'm looking for a kind of a good story game. I might actually play the story mode of GTA. So, yeah.
Okay. Right.
And when I'm not doing that, I'm playing. I got Temtem on Switch as well because I wanted that kind of like Pokemon like hit in between. Since there's no Pokemon games at the moment, other than Scarlet and Violet, but it's really not much to do in that game when you finished all the DLCs. So I figured I'd go back and play a bit of Temtem. And the cool thing about it is also cross-platform as well. So whenever I play it on PC, I can also play it on my Switch version as well. So it's pretty good.
Okay. Look, I have 2 Switches and I don't even play the games that I bought. I don't even know why I bought them. I did want to play not the second Zelda, but there's Breath of the Wild, and then I don't even remember the name of the new one, to be honest.
Tears of the Kingdom.
I started it, and yeah, that one. I think we touched on it when I was on the last podcast, and still haven't even played it since.
Yeah, I don't know. Zelda is one of those games that I get the appeal on that. It's never really, I've never really been that interested in Legend of Zelda, to be honest. Like, the story is great, and I get why people love it. It doesn't grab my attention.
Yeah, I only like these 2 games, these 2 open world ones, the newer ones, and I just like fiddling around with the stuff and it, like the picking stuff up with the abilities, making things, and just doing random stuff, throwing things around.
Yeah, well, I played a lot of the Breath of the Wild, but then I think I've talked about this before, where got to a certain puzzle and I got stuck on it, and just was like, nah, okay, I'm done with this game. I can't be bothered trying to figure it out. So,
I'm not so proud that I won't say that I didn't use Google to do some of those.
I know, right? I used Google for a couple of the puzzles, but this particular one, I was just like, even Googling it, I was like, I can't figure this out. This is ridiculous. So, yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those games you love to hate.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, well, I liked playing Zelda Link's Awakening because my partner actually really liked the look of the game. She played it a lot, and then until she got to boss battles, and she doesn't know how to respond fast. She doesn't have a really good response time. But
man, I feel like that too. I actually went from PS4 a long time ago because I'd sold my PC, and then I went back to PC, and then I tried playing Borderlands 3 again on PlayStation, and I couldn't use the control. I literally felt, I don't know if there's a politically correct word for it, but I felt slow. Couldn't figure out how to work a controller anymore. So I just didn't play it again after that. Now I'm just on PC permanently.
Yeah, well, I was kind of saying, I mean, I don't know how many streams we had, and I was using the Xbox controller on PC because it's just what I was natural. Like, I'm just really good at controllers. But
yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
But Mitch would always give me shit about it. He's like, "You're using a controller again on PC." I was like, yeah, because it's much easier for me. Like, it's I actually do pretty well with the controller.
I'll be honest. Like, when it comes to a game like Apex, whilst I've got really good movement, I'm like a flaccid thing that I won't speak of, just flailing about when I use my mouse to shoot. However, the movement's fine. I'm good at movement. My wife, on the other hand, while she doesn't have the movement with the controller, she just beams people when it comes to shooting, though, on that thing.
Yeah, and I have to, like, it's weird. It's one of those things where, depending on what game I'm playing, like, it's much easier to use controller. But there is some games that I do play on PC where I do use keyboard and mouse. Like the finals, we play that a lot, and I use keyboard and mouse because it's just easier. But when you're playing a game like Rainbow Six Siege was easier for me on controller. Well, initially anyway. Um, and Splitgate. I used to play with an Xbox controller on Splitgate, and I was wrecking people with that controller because it was just much easier for me to use the controller.
Yeah, yeah. Like it, I guess it transfers from person to person. Whoever, that's not the right word, but each person's going to have their preference. I guess how their brain might work. Controller's going to be easy for some, or they might even be used to it. Me, I just can't leave keyboard and mouse out. It's if we're going to play a racing game, probably I'll be using a controller, but I just can't play a shooter with a controller anymore. Just impossible. It feels backwards and upside down.
Well, I think for me, because using a controller, I'm back in the Halo days, picking up an Xbox controller. That's what I was used to, and Splitgate's very much the same layout, with like as Halo. So for me, it was just muscle memory. It was really easy for me to just pick up a controller and wreck people with the controller.
Yeah, actually, I do remember that. I got the feels of that too, but I stuck with keyboard and mouse. But definitely took me back to Halo and controllers.
Definitely one of those cool things. But anyway, we've rambled on for about 10 minutes already. We'll jump into the topic of this week. So the topic for this week, we wanted to talk about some of the controversies that are in the gaming industry this week. Spill the tea, if you so wish, because I know a lot of people like drama. It goes without saying that there's definitely a big controversy in the gaming industry right now, particularly in regards to a Twitch streamer by the name of Dr. Disrespect. Yes, I'm waiting for everyone to have a go at me because everyone's tired of the story. But it definitely is a big hot topic, mainly because it's all about how gamers feel about particular streamers in the industry and how far some of these streaming companies will go to cover their reputation. Jay, do you happen to know much about this story?
Very minimal, only having heard of it quite recently. I'd never dug into it. Knowing as much as he was demonetized, wasn't it, from
Correct,
YouTube?
yeah.
And that's
Yep.
about it.
So, to give you a bit of backstory, I've got the timeline here. We can do a brief summary of it. So, basically, if you travel all the way back to 2020 in March 2020, basically mid-year of COVID, basically Dr. Disrespect, aka known as Guy Beam, that is not a made-up name, that is actually his name. He signed a multi-year 8-figure deal with Twitch back then. It was $10 million for the next 5 years or so, I think it was. As one of Twitch's biggest stars, and he drew an average of 50,000 views per stream. He was also named Streamer of the Year at the Game Awards in 2017 and 2019, and he also had partnerships with mainstream brands like the WWE and Mountain Dew as well. Now, that wasn't so much controversy, but there was a controversy before then, back in 2017, where he admitted to on stream to cheating on his wife. Then in June 2019, Twitch suddenly banned him and unbanned him 30 days later for filming in a public bathroom at E3. Wasn't too bad, but he came back from that. Twitch partnership was back. Everything was all good. Jump forward to June of 2020, and Twitch randomly, just out of nowhere, permanently banned Dr. Disrespect from their platform, and the company released this vague statement about it, saying, "As is our process, we take appropriate action when we have evidence the streamer acts in violation of our community guidelines or terms of the service. These apply to all streamers regardless of status or prominence in the community." And due to the general nature of this one, it was some DMCA-related drama, but since Guy Beam streamed some copyrighted content, or was it something else? Discord also happened to ban him on the same day, but they didn't even comment as to why. Later on, the following day, Dr. Disrespect hopped on to a stream. I posted on Twitter as well that Twitch had indeed banned him, claiming he didn't know the reason why Twitch had suddenly banned him, considering he just signed a multi-year deal with millions of dollars on the line. Months later, everyone kept asking him about it, and he kept maintaining the story. He doesn't know why Twitch has suddenly banned him. He's saying, "Honestly, we just don't know. It was a total shock. Imagine showing up to work and the doors are closed and you can't get inside. You're going, what's going on? And you've been told you've been fired, but you haven't told the reason why. We were just given an answer. It was the worst feeling. From there, he moved over to the platform of YouTube and continued his streaming from there. And then back in August, he then mentioned that he found out about the Twitch ban. He confirmed that he knew why he was banned and that he'd be suing the F out of Twitch, which came out of nowhere. Just people still didn't know. So 2 years later, we still don't know why he was banned. Fast forward to 2022, and the doc had posted onto Twitter saying he'd solved his legal dispute with Twitch. The parties admitted to any wrongdoing, and then he was paid for whatever it was. Everyone seemed to have moved on, and nobody still knows what actually happened. He lost countless opportunities with like brand deal with Nike and Oakley, ending their relationship as well. But yeah, apart from that, it was business as usual, and nobody found any more out about it. Now we get to this year, in June. This is where things really got spicy. So, a former Twitch employee, Cody Connors, went to Twitter, revealed the reason why he was Dr. Disrespect was banned on Twitch, saying he got banned because he was sexting a minor and the then existing Twitch Whispers product. He was trying to meet up with her at TwitchCon. The powers could be read in plain set. The powers that could read in plain text. Case closed. Gang. Now, he didn't actually admit that it was Dr. Disrespect to begin with until Dr. Disrespect responded, saying, Jake, seriously, I get it, it's a hot topic, but this is being settled. No wrongdoing was acknowledged, and they paid out the whole contract. This led to everyone going in a frenzy and going, what are you talking about? What do you mean you texted a minor? And then so the following day, Dr. Disrespect then posted to Twitter saying, I didn't do anything wrong. All these have been probed and settled. Nothing illegal, no wrongdoing was found, and I was paid. Then 2 days later, Dr. Disrespect was working with a game company called the Midnight Society, where he was making his own video game. The game company had actually decided to terminate his contract, and he was no longer found to be the co-founder of the Midnight Society. With their statement saying, well, these facts are difficult to hear and even more difficult to accept, it's our duty to act with dignity on behalf of all the individuals involved, especially the 55 developers and families who employed along with our community of players. Yeah. And then, of course, everyone was like, well, if there was nothing wrong here, why would the Midnight Society suddenly kick him to the curb? A day later, Dr. Disrespect then posted on Twitter again, saying, basically admitting to what he had actually done. Saying, were there Twitch whisper messages on an individual minor back in 2017? The answer is yes. Were there real intentions behind these messages? The answer is absolutely not. These are casual, mutual conversations that sometimes lean too much in the direction of being inappropriate, but nothing more. Now, from a moral standpoint, I absolutely take responsibility. I should have never entertained these conversations to begin with. That's on me. That's on me as an adult, a husband, and a father. It should never have happened. I get it. I'm not perfect, and I'll be effing my own shit. This was stupid. Then they... Yeah, cool. And then after that, it gets even more spicier. You still with me, Jay?
Yeah, I'm following. I'm keeping up on the content, seeing what's happening. Yeah.
Cool. So after that, to add even more to it, the following day, a streamer by the name of Lena Love had actually accused Guy Beam, aka Dr. Disrespect, of exploitation. She claimed that he had asked her for free cam shows in exchange for a partnership on Twitch, and then after receiving the shows, he had actually just randomly blocked her. Lena Love posted receipts of the conversations as proof, also alleging in addition to cheating with her, a trans sex worker, and texting a minor, he is also cheating with another woman. Wow. It's just a real tip of the iceberg.
Classy.
Yeah, real classy. So then, the following day after that, the Rolling Stone put an investigative article out which supported the ex-Twitch employee's statements, saying that The Verge and Bloomberg had also been able to corroborate the story with sources, and who confirmed the sexual nature of Guy Beam's messages, and that Beam had asked about the minor's plans for attending TwitchCon. Rolling Stone had also added, uncovering details from his own sources, that Beam continued sending graphic, sexually charged content to the minor after learning their age. So he was well aware of the age and still sent content anyway. The former global head of gaming partnerships at YouTube, Ryan Wyatt, also confirmed to Rolling Stone that Beam had not been offered an exclusive contract with YouTube due to circumstances or rumors surrounding this Twitch ban. 2 days later, YouTube then issues a suspension of monetization of the Dr. Disrespect YouTube channel for violating a creative responsibility policy following serious allegations against the creator. The company then says the suspension applies to any channels that Guy Beam currently has and will apply to any channels he decides to make in the future. Yeah, and that's where we're at now. So we're at that part of the timeline. No other news has developed as of yet. But yeah, that's the controversy. What do you think, Jay?
Well, look, prior to the termination in the Midnight Society there, some of that I might have understood. And then when it got further through to the confession portion of it, that's when I was like, look, I can understand where he's lost everything now. It was just inappropriate. And considering the visual nature of the public entity that, he was creating his content under, I do get it. I don't know how deep to delve into it, but just on a surface level, I probably wouldn't be with Dr. Disrespect on this one. That's just what I see on the surface.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting topic. It's one thing to admit that you had actually done, and to be honest about it. But then it's also another to even humor the idea of the conversation to begin with. And sometimes some of these streamers, they get, well, power kind of goes to their head. They get a bit of egocentric, and then they think they're untouchable. And something like this comes out, and then next thing you know, they're just basically cancelled. And
so, yeah, the thing with him is, having seen some of his content, I see how he can just go over the top as well. Some of the stuff he says, he just says out of a heated mind, like he doesn't actually. I wouldn't have believed there was intentions to it, but after his termination with the Midnight Society and all of that stuff that come out, that's sort of, that's a different level too. Like if you're just talking smack for the sake of it, being who he is, it's just a bit of smack. I get that, but yeah, not after the rest of it there. It's just too far gone. And like you said, humoring some things, some stuff shouldn't be on your brain, especially things like private messages. That's too far.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, no one should be texting minors, and clearly he was well aware of the age of this particular person, nor do we know who this particular person is, nor do we need to know. But the fact that it's taken nearly 3 to 4 years for the truth to finally come out, just because of legal implications, is very kind of frustrating as well. Because it also almost feels like Twitch has tried to cover their tracks, which, as of this recording, there is actually a bit of news as well, which I'll add on here, which may change your perspective a little bit. So there is a tweet from a person on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. I still call it Twitter because it sounds better. Caller Shane went on to add a post on Twitter saying that the minor referred in Dr. Disrespect's tweet is actually a former disgruntled Twitch employee pretending to be a 17-year-old girl to try and bait the doc with entrapment techniques while Twitch mods recorded the conversation. They were all fired soon after and sued by Dr. Disrespect's legal team, becoming more bitter about the whole situation and why that after all this time they're finally speaking about it is purely just to expose Dr. Disrespect. This would line up as to why Twitch is trying not to talk about the situation and is trying to sweep it under the rug, and why the doc sued Twitch for the settlement being made outside of court. Now, does that change your perspective a little bit that maybe Twitch actually was trying to trap the doc by making fake messages?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I can see more now. Yeah.
Well, I kind of feel like, this is unconfirmed, by the way. This is not actual information. It is yet to be confirmed. But if that is indeed the case, like, that's a pretty shitty thing for Twitch to do, is to try and entrap one of the biggest streamers on that platform that has a multi-million-dollar contract with them, and for Twitch to do that, entrap him, and then to get the legal team involved, and Twitch to kind of sweep it under the rug by like firing them and going, "Here's a payout." It just seems like they're trying to protect their reputation more than anything else, rather than actually protecting this alleged minor that we know nothing about. So, do you think with Twitch covering things up, do you think Twitch did the right thing by trying to cover up their employees potentially like baiting Doctor Disrespect, or do you think Twitch should have been honest with everyone in the gaming community and just gone, "Hey, look, we messed up. Doctor Disrespect didn't actually do anything wrong. It was our fault. Those employees are no longer with us," and then moved on? Or do you think sweeping it under the rug was the right course of action?
Not not being someone internal in those matters, it's hard to tell, but on a personal level, being where I am, I would say taking accountability is the best course of action. Being genuine in your response and your efforts has always led to the best outcomes when it comes to the things that I deal with. So I would say no, not on their part. But again, I don't work at that corporate level, so I couldn't say yes or no really, but my personal opinion is wasn't a good idea to do it.
Yeah, I think from my personal opinion would be is that Twitter could have dealt with it in house and settled it without any of these news coming out. I think they should have been open and honest with the gaming community and really put context into why the doc was banned, rather than just banning him and then not even commenting on it.
Definitely.
And if this is true that their own employees did actually bait Doctor Disrespect, then they need to make a statement. Basically, come out and go, "All right, this is what has actually happened. Regardless of the bad light, we've terminated these employees because they were doing malpractice inside of our own company. They are no longer with us, and we have already paid damages to Doctor Disrespect, and we've closed the case. It is no longer an issue." And I think that would be the right thing to do, the right course of action, because then it would actually, not in a sense, but it would kind of excuse Doctor Disrespect a little. Because, if he is innocent, then having it come from Twitch that formerly employed him would be the right thing to do. But at the same token, though, if they're trying to sweep under the rug and Doctor Disrespect actually was doing inappropriate things, then maybe it's probably best you just don't comment at all. Sometimes the best things are left unsaid, right? So
Yeah, that's the hard decision for someone like me to make, not being internal in those matters. But I mean, at face value, between allegations and what is noted, might have been better to be very upfront rather than trying to sweep it off to begin with what information we do have by the looks of things.
certainly, sometimes you got to clean in the house a bit to, do the right thing. But for something like a matter like this, just to leave everyone out in the dark, where you could potentially come out and say something to could clear Doctor Disrespect's name, then that should be the right thing to do. But in saying that, though, if there's tangible evidence that Doctor Disrespect was doing something of malpractice, then yeah, Twitch is probably doing the right thing. I'm just not even commenting on it. So at the end of the day, the only people that know what has actually happened is Doctor Disrespect and Twitch.
Yeah, that could definitely be the case.
I think we kind of covered the Doctor Disrespect controversy, but there is also another controversy happening in the gaming space. Well, not really controversy, but a big story happening in the gaming industry. Ubisoft has come under fire for a couple of reasons. First reason being that they have got a black protagonist in their latest Assassin's Creed game called Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is set in feudal Japan. Now, that's not a big issue because anyone that's done actual research would know that there is actually a samurai, or African American samurai, in history that did live around the feudal Japan times, which this game is based on. But there's some people in the gaming industry that are claiming it as part of the woke culture to replace the main character with a person of a particular race in the industry, just for the sake of being woke. The other controversy as well is that the fact that Ubisoft is actually saying, Ubisoft exec came out saying that players should be feeling comfortable with not actually owning games. So when you actually use a subscription service like Ubisoft Plus, or you buy future games, you don't actually own the games. You're basically buying a license to play the games from the platforms until that license expires. So technically, you're not actually ever owning the game. And when you play games such as The Crew, for example, where it is a live service, they are not mentioning it anywhere in the terms and conditions or on the box itself to say, hey, this game is a live service. When we feel like we don't want to support it anymore, we will cut the service and you won't ever be able to play it. So basically, what I wanted to ask is, what's your thoughts on this take, and do you think it is worthy of driving some controversy?
I actually do think it's worth some. So you and I both grew up in a gaming culture when it started out. When we had discs or cartridges, we had a physical aspect of ownership of that purchase. I guess if you are in a subscription service, you might want to be wary of that sort of thing like they're talking about. But for someone like me, I've bought discs, I've bought cartridges. Actually, that's it, discs and cartridges. And that's how I got games. I like the idea of ownership of something that I've invested time or money into. You know, it feels like a bit of a return as well. I can go back to it. And if they did that to a disc that I purchased with a game on it and just cut my ability to play it, I'll be quite livid, to be honest. Let's take, for example, some older games they've remastered. The Halo's a pretty big one, I guess. They remastered those. They're back out. There's some servers again. That's happening. So that's one thing. But those servers were out for a long time when you purchased the copies. And yeah, well, that's a bit of my take on it. I'd much rather have some form of ownership depending on how I did it. But then on the other hand, you've got free versions of games that have a subscription fee or something along those lines that if you're not paying, you don't get it. But if they would just shut the server down, that'd be a bit upsetting, I guess. Yeah.
100%. Like, there's a lot of games that we previously purchased where the game was on the disc or on the cartridge. You'd put the game in, you played it, and you didn't have to worry about online things like patches, downloads, licensing, or anything like that. But as games have progressed, they've gone into this whole age of where it's not so much you're actually playing the game anymore. You're just basically getting a license to say, hey, this allows me to play the game for an X amount of time. As soon as that time elapses, bye-bye game. And, case in point with, as I mentioned before, I was playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Now, I went out and purchased the disc for that, thinking, I could play the game on disc, right? Turns out that disc does nothing. That disc is purely just a license key to authenticate the game. And when I put that disc in the PS5, it actually just downloaded the entire game from the internet. Or 150 gigs or whatever size it was, which it was a huge game. Turns out I could have already had most of the game already downloaded because I played Call of Duty Warzone, and all that disc I did, which I purchased, all that did was unlock the multiplayer component of the game, and that was it. So I was like, okay, cool. So this disc doesn't actually carry any game on it. It's literally just a license key to unlock the game. That's all it is.
Yeah, I have noted that on some PS4 games. Now, I don't play PS4 much, but The games I did get, it was the same thing. Like 80 gigabyte downloads. What's the point of the disc? It's a license key. Yeah.
Yeah, and, as time goes on, like it's also being said about the movie streaming industry as well. It's not just games, where a lot of people are like, they purchase or rented or purchased a digital download, and then as time goes on, if that service suddenly shuts down, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't get that movie or TV show ever back again. It's gone.
That's right. Yeah.
So, and I think Sony actually come under fire for they had a movie service where people had bought movies and then they shifted the movie service to another platform, and people just lost their entire collections, like the whole movie and everything that they paid for. And Sony was like, tough luck. It's part of the terms of service. It's like, okay, cool. So if I go out there and purchase a game or a movie or a TV show, basically what you're saying is yeah, you own the movie for as long as we let you.
I would think that you would not just have the responsibility, but with things like that, you'd probably want to create a service or a server, have the potential, the ability to do that, to hold and store those things for a period of time. I wouldn't expect a game to go more than, let's not take Skyrim into account, but maybe more than 10 to 12 years, before you really should probably move on. But, there's still got to be some amount of time. Like if I've got a movie for 10 years on Amazon Prime that I've purchased for $30, cool, fair enough. 10 years, $30. Cool. I'm happy. Fine. Yeah, sometimes you do have to move on, but if I purchase something and 4 or 5 years down the track, it's just disappeared in that case, it's not going to make me happy. I'll probably want to move to a new service for a while and stream somewhere else or something like that. But I think moving into, the future, we might need to become more wary, perhaps make a push, become more the solution than focusing on the problem. Not real sure, not in those industries, but I am a solutions orientated kind of person in my role with what I do. So less problems, more solutions when we see one.
Yeah, well, I totally agree. But I think the major problem is that there has been services that have come out in the past to try and preserve games in the past, and unfortunately, because they don't own the IP, looking at you, Nintendo, they do it the worst. They come across and they just cease and desist any service that's trying to preserve video game history, just because they don't own the IP, and they're just like, nope, you can't have that anymore. Shut down your service. Even though we don't support that game anymore, we still own the IP, so you can't have that anymore. Hand us money.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that mindset from that level. I mean, if we look at history, could you imagine if everyone only retained knowledge that they created and not shared it? Look at Newton. Who else we got? We've got modern people. We've got like Neil deGrasse Tyson, but they're working off older IP, if you want to call it an IP. If we didn't have those older people sharing their knowledge, we wouldn't be, where we are with the knowledge we have. Imagine if they just kept all their documents and burned them at the end of their times. Maybe it's a similar thing. Don't know, but I kind of like the idea of sharing knowledge to better a future and have some real progression.
100%, like entirety, because of this great big archive purge, and there's lost episodes and that they haven't been ever to be found, and that's history of the BBC just gone.
That's actually horrible. I only got to see Doctor Who from Chris Eccleston through to who's the Scottish fellow, the older
Peter Capaldi.
Yes. And I absolutely enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. Haven't watched any of the newer stuff. I've only been a few episodes into the female Doctor. Not up to speed with anything new outside of that. But I didn't know they were lost. I would have liked to at some point have come back to the older Doctors and, got to see them. If I can't see some of their stuff now, it's going to be a bit disappointing.
Yeah, there's basically the whole first Doctor's, a lot of his stories are gone. A lot of second Doctor's stories are gone. Some of the third Doctor's stories are gone. Some of the fourth Doctor's stories, there's only 1 or 2 episodes that are missing, fortunately. So you can see most of anything from Fourth Doctor onwards, you can see most of those episodes. But yeah, everything from the first to the third Doctor, a lot of their episodes are just gone from history, deleted from history because the archives just were either burnt or just completely purged. And that's why there's big concerns for like how it impacts the gaming industry is a very similar thing, where there's companies they go back from the dawn of games to now, where once they're gone, they're gone. And then people try to preserve them, and then the company that owns the IP are coming out to them and going, hey, you don't own the IP, we don't support it anymore, but neither can you. So we'll take that back. Here's the cease and desist. And then they do nothing with that IP at all. Like they just sit on it. So it's like, okay, well, so nobody can enjoy something you created many, many years ago or show it off to their kids or their grandchildren just because you want to lock it in a vault and never have it released ever again.
We have so much space available, whether it's physical or digital, and the ability to create. We have that ability. It's just a shame that there are some corporations, larger companies, not willing to provide in that sense.
Well, that's the thing too. I mean, a lot of game companies that they want to lock it into a vault purely because they want to make money off it again, because they want to re-release it in the future and be like, look, here's the anniversary edition of whatever game that we've locked in the vault for like over a decade. I mean,
I'm somewhat okay with that. At least it's bringing it back. Just keep it, in some form. If someone was to make money off it, fine. I mean, how many versions of Skyrim across consoles were there? 100?
yeah,
Probably not even 100. Not even
way
close,
too
but
many.
you get what I mean.
Yeah, well, I think Skyrim's a little bit different though because people kept buying Skyrim, whether it be old or new.
True, that is
And
true.
that's why they ended up with
It
so many
was
editions. I mean, I think we talked about this before,
it
but Todd
was.
Howard came out and made a joke of it, and he's like, and people are like, why do you keep releasing Skyrim? He's like, because you guys keep buying it. If you guys keep buying it, of course I'm going to keep releasing it. Till you guys stop buying it, we won't release it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I'm not going to deny that. I mean, I have 3 copies of it. I don't have the VR, and I don't have it on a console, but I've got 3 copies on my PC.
Yeah, this was precisely the point. It was like, if people keep buying it, then of course the game companies are going to milk it for what it's worth. But
exactly.
Well, that's the thing. Like Todd Howard, talked about it. How many times we buy Skyrim, and if people keep buying the same old games, of course they're gonna re-release them over and over again, buying the same thing. Because I mean, let's be honest, if I'm a game company and you guys keep buying the same game because you really love it, I'm gonna re-release it over and over again till you guys stop buying it. I totally agree with Todd Howard's sentiment.
Yeah, me too. I'm also happy with it. If I'm buying the game, I must be. So there you go.
That's the thing, and that's why I don't understand why people want to make this a controversy over it. I mean, if Ubisoft, Ubisoft at the end of the day, I'm going to be honest with you, Ubisoft used to be a good company back in the day. After all the allegations of inappropriate behavior and conduct and people getting fired and all that kind of stuff, then a couple of years ago, there was that controversy there. They did a big purge of people. Ubisoft has a long way to go to get back to their roots, to try and restore faith in their brand. In saying that, though, the new Assassin's Creed looks fantastic. I'm actually really keen to play it. It's the first time in a long time where an Assassin's Creed game looks appealing to me. Because I think the last Assassin's Creed game I actually played I played a little bit of Origins, and then I played Odyssey, and I really enjoyed Odyssey. I didn't even finish it, actually. Maybe I should go back and play that. Anyway, I didn't even finish it, but I really enjoyed it. But this new one looks fantastic. Assassin's Creed Shadows, because you can do 2 different ways of playing it. You can play stealthily, like a ninja assassin, where you play as the character Naoe, or you can play as basically a brute strength samurai called Yasuki, where he's a African American playing as a black samurai, which has caused a bit of controversy online. A lot of people don't seem to like that. They think Ubisoft is being woke. I don't believe that, because if you actually sorry, Yasuki actually, sorry, is the main character for that one. But if you actually looked up research on this particular character, Yusuke is actually a historical figure to be an African origin who was a samurai during the 16th century and is widely considered to be the first ever foreigner to be granted warrior status in Japan and was the inspiration for the next Netflix anime series as well of the same name, Yusuke. But after the trailer was released, a lot of fans went to criticize Ubisoft for selling the game in Japan and not having its lead character to be Japanese. With someone saying Assassin's Creed being based in Japan and then not using a Japanese male protagonist is stupid. We know exactly why they're using Yusuke, the message, and it's annoying. It would be as dumb as having it based in Africa and deciding he's a white male protagonist. Ubisoft has never made a game with a male East Asian protagonist. Do you think they hate the East Asian males? And then some fans have also accused Yusuke of not being a real samurai, calling him just a retainer. But yeah, what do you think about this story, Jay? Do you think it's a
so I've got
controversial thing?
I do have yes and no, not really actually. No, on the whole, no. Two things. So you're right. There have historically been black samurais. I think, for me personally, given the culture, I probably would have liked to see an all Japanese game. I think it's just a difference. Given that it was in Japan, the expectation would be in the settings. Now, they're not wrong putting a black samurai in. For me, that's not the issue. It's that I purely would have liked to have seen the complete Japanese aesthetics. Now, I haven't played the game. If I do play it and find that it kind of meets that criteria that I would expect, no problems. However, if I play it and I feel it detracts from what I would have liked in a game from Asia or East Asia, or Northeast Asia actually, is it? Then that's, it's going to be different. But I'm not upset by it as such. But other people without that real knowledge who are just there to say woke, I can't really agree with them. But it's only my subjective opinion that if it's going to detract from that Japanese style, then I'm not going to be interested. But like I said, I haven't played the game. If I play it, might think it's a fantastic game, great. And historically, of times in Assassin's Creed, they have placed the characters within their ethnic background too. The Italian one, the original one. We've got Black Flag, but I'm not really delving too much into that with the pirates and white people and everything else there. We've got the American one. Is that Assassin's Creed 3, I think?
Yeah,
it's
it was
that one.
in colonial America.
Yeah, you played as an American Indian, yeah? Is that right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. But look, I'm not personally upset by it as such. I just think people are overreacting until they play the game. Could be perfectly fine, but they are wrong, and they're probably just on that whole woke thing. I don't really know, man. It's up to them if they want that mindset, but I'm not necessarily upset by it.
That's the thing. Like I personally believe that it doesn't matter what your character looks like as long as they're written well. But if it is a historical thing that you're basing on and you're actually saying it's based on a true story and then you completely flip it, that's where I have a problem. So, I'm not sure if you heard a couple of years ago, I don't know if it was a couple of years ago or a year ago or so, where Netflix released it was a documentary drama or something, where they had Cleopatra and they did the documentary based on a true story, had Cleopatra in it, but she was black.
I did see a little bit around that. I didn't really look into it too much, but there were some upset people and a lot of Egyptian comments too, talking about how they're not black historically. I pay no mind to it because there were plenty of black people, from what I know in history, in Egypt. But again, I really didn't delve into it.
See, this is where the problem is, though, because Cleopatra, in case you didn't know, Cleopatra was actually came from, I think it was Greece or Rome originally.
Okay, yeah.
So a lot of people were all upset because Cleopatra came over to Egypt and wasn't any of those. She was actually more predominantly Greek or Roman. Uh, actually, just check that. Hang on. Uh, yeah, she was Greek. She was from Macedonian Greek.
Yeah, okay.
So, uh, so for them to replace Cleopatra, who's Greek by history, um, with someone that's African American or part of the black community, is a big up in arms kind of thing. And I mean, it's the same, well, not the same, but similar thing when it's based on history. Difference with Assassin's Creed, though, they actually got it right this time because they based it on a character that was African, did become a samurai. It's historically accurate. So honestly, the controversy here, I honestly believe, in my opinion, there's no controversy. It's just
No, I agree.
it's just people haven't done their research. People haven't looked into it, haven't bothered to look into the story, and are trying to make something out of something it isn't.
Well, look how many Assassin's Creed games there are. How many times can they repeat something before they finally make it different? And for all intents and purposes, I think they have. They've actually made it a little different this time. Different enough to identify it from some other Assassin's Creed game too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, it's one thing to have representation, and there's another to completely get it wrong. And it's not like this particular character is going in there with the stereotypical things of that ethnicity, where going in there with gangster culture or something like that. It's still accurate. Like it's not like it's been taking advantage of the fact they're just using someone who's of a different ethnicity, so just for the sake of it. They're doing it because it's an interesting story. It's compelling. It's a story that has obviously not been told enough because people don't know about it, and it's going to be an engaging story that's going to get people interested in playing the game and going, I don't know anything about this Yusuke character. I want to know more about him. I'm going to play Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. And look, I quite strongly feel that we need to embrace the good parts of cultures. Look at Australia and the Greek ethnic culture here. Without that, we wouldn't have a lot of the Australia the way it is too. They were ridiculed. People didn't like them in some parts of the country. They wanted to kick them out of suburbs. And I mean, I personally just couldn't feel that Australia wouldn't be the way it is without them. And it's the same said for Eastern cultures, Middle Eastern, right up north. I feel like to unify this place, this whole earth, we need to just take on everything that's good. Remember the bad and not repeat it, but just be there as a planet, with each other.
Yeah, 100%. And the best way to show creativity is to make games that challenge the status quo. And without them, without the ability to be creative and to imagine things, then it'd just be a boring world, to be honest. Can you imagine, the same to be said about food, for example. I mean, if you think about it, if certain cultures didn't come to Australia, we wouldn't have, things like pizza or spaghetti bolognese or nachos or
Sushi,
tacos or sushi
give me sushi.
or snack packs and kebabs,
Yeah,
the Australian
look,
pastime when you have a hangover to get a snack pack or a kebab at the ungodly
man,
hours of the night. Uh,
I love food. I gotta, all of it pretty much. I actually, one thing, I'm not a fan of most French food except
oh,
pastries.
well, pastries, I
Yes, I'm
mean,
happy with
yeah,
that.
there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. But like, I've got to embrace that. I mean, food, that can bring us together as well.
100%.
I love Eastern food, love Middle Eastern food. What else we got? Greek food, absolutely. Italian food, oh, it's up so high for me. Just that's all part of other cultures. And we can't just sit here, bagging out other things because they're different like that. It's just, I enjoy the things we have. And if those other cultures didn't fight, for their ways, I wouldn't have, nice food, stuff that I've learned how to cook and so on.
100%, and I think it applies the same to the gaming community. I mean, I mean, we turned it into the food podcast for a second there, but
yeah. So yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Back to it. Let's just translate what I said.
The food show. Welcome to the food show, everyone.
That's right. Yeah.
But the point we're trying to make is that without inspiration for games and taking it from somewhere else, from history or for different cultures and that, we wouldn't have some of these amazing stories that we do have. Some of these amazing stories, like games like Hades or Journey or Celeste, and some of the Assassin's Creed titles, based on America or France or the Middle East or Greece even. There's a lot of things that people don't know about other people's cultures, and games is a great medium to get people interested in those cultures. So honestly, I think this is a ridiculous thing to make a controversy out of, when clearly I don't feel like as though there's no controversy to be had. I think people just need to take things the way they are. Play the game if you want to. If you don't want to play the game, that's fine. Don't play it. There's no harm here. But if it does interest you, I would encourage you to play it. You might be pleasantly surprised, you might learn more about history, and you might have a good time.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's our take on it. Alright guys, I think we should wrap it up there, because I don't know if we've gotten to an hour yet, but we think we might wrap it up there because I think we covered all the content that we kind of really needed to cover. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Jay, what did you think of the podcast?
Excellent. Next time there'll definitely be more food talk. Just looking ahead.
The game show will be changing into the food podcast. Check it out next week. It'll be on the food channel.
Food controversies and upcoming food simulator games or restaurant simulators.
Starting with the first controversy: does pineapple belong in pizza? Hot debate next week. Let's check it out. Anyway, I digress. Let's end it there. Thank you so much for joining me, Jay. It's a pleasure as always.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Alright, guys, and if you guys want to check out more of the podcast, we have previous episodes available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, Deezer, Amazon Music, and pretty much any platform really that hosts a podcast. It's probably on there. In the meantime, if you also love gaming content, come over and check us out on YouTube, check us out on TikTok, check us out on Facebook. We have nearly 4,000 people on Facebook, where we update the latest in entertainment and gaming news on the daily. That's probably the best place to check it out. I've been your host, Charlie, and as always, we'll see you on the next level.